And good evening. Welcome to the Living Truth channel. Here, our main goal is the expansion of spiritual awareness and clarity of understanding that we might partake of and enjoy that which was designated from the beginning. Today is July 2nd, 2025. This is recording 8:56, and it is entitled The Law of Giving. The Law of Giving. It actually has two backup scriptures. The first one being Luke 6:38. Give, and it shall be given unto you, good measure, pressed down and shaken together, and running over shall men give unto your bosom. For with the same measure that you meet withal, it shall be measured to you again. You could see right off how an unspiritual understanding would take that as a get-rich-quick scripture. You mean all I have to do is give? That's right. All you have to do is give, and it will be given back to you. And you can see how the church are those who promote giving, basically in the church world, promoted tithing. Then it became a hindrance, a burden on people. And they were told they had to give to get blessed. Well, you and I both know that growing up in this world, a lot of times, and I can remember even myself at times saying, if I didn't tithe, I could buy a new car. If I didn't tithe, I could go on this trip. So you can see now that little hindrance that comes when a person is saying, you want me to take 10% or whatever and give, and it's told in such a way that if you give, it's going to be given back to you, pressed down and shaking over, running together. So you allow your understanding to go, well, let me do this. But if you look at it, what is your intent? What is your result? Why are you actually giving? And the thing about it is, it says the Lord loves a cheerful giver. So therefore, if you don't watch out, what are you doing? You're giving to get. So right there, you've already put yourself in a hindrance. And the thing about it is the unspiritual mind, or the mind that is not aligned with spiritual understanding. So that means the carnal mind, or the mortal mind, as the Bible is speaking, is doing the giving. It's doing the giving outside or in some outward measure, and it's expecting to receive something from the outside. But you look, and it says, give, and it shall be given unto you. So people force themselves to see it. Can you see it? They force themselves to give, but they're really holding on to the giving because they're expecting a windfall to come back. Because it says that people are going to give back to you, pressed down and shaken together into your bosom. It means you can hold it close to yourself. Now just think about that. How many times have you tried to pack something and saw it fill up and you just kind of shook the bag or banged it against something, and all of a sudden it took 2, 3, 4 more inches appear and you can get more in? So the unspiritual mind is looking at this to say, but it's going to come back. It's going to come back. And when it doesn't come back, They get reprimanded for slack in giving. They get reprimanded for not giving. They get reprimanded, and now we've got this vicious circle. And in the basement of this person, this withholding giving person, there is this result or this understanding: this doesn't work. And little do they know that it was an outward interpretation of this law has become a culprit to their spiritual growth. This person doesn't realize that they themselves are withholding their blessing by not having a clear understanding of a spiritual law. By believing that they can give and outwardly receive back without aligning themselves with the law, they have caused themselves to suffer. And what's really, really hard is they become stingy in everything. They don't want to give anything out because there's this little chain or leash that's jerking back, saying that if you give, you're going to have less of. Now we take a broad view of how Christianity is basically being practiced. It is being practiced as outward acts. People are doing things outwardly, and they are appeasing themselves that they are fulfilling the cosmic or the spiritual doctrine by helping others, by feeding others, by clothing others, by giving to organizations, by doing these things. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with doing these things, but the culmination of the results of these things do not determine whether a person reaches that high understanding that Jesus said was the kingdom of heaven. Remember this past Sunday, we had Jesus said the kingdom of heaven does not come by waiting for it, nor is it low over there or here. You see, all three of those represent outward appearances. But when the kingdom of heaven is attained, the spirit within will begin to project outwardly things that have been realized within. That's why he says the kingdom of heaven is within you. And he says, if you are able to realize it and bring it forth, it will save you. But if you are not able to do this, it will kill you. So this channel is about clarifying parables and stories and themes and lessons within the stories in the Bible that one would be able to see the hidden message. And those that seek will find. Why? Because they're turning over every stone. They're splitting every piece of wood. They have come to believe that there's more to salvation than me working up a whole bunch of good things in my outer life that God would seem or would be pleased with and grant me entrance into his kingdom. And yet they do not know the kingdom is within them and it's up to them to bring it forth. So what a person has to do is understand that if they're praying to a non-existent concept. What is a non-existent concept? Well, a non-existent concept would be something that is not real, but it is put forth as real, and without knowing that it's not real, a person will continue to pray to it or look to it for guidance and whatnot, and not receiving it will even come up with reasoning as to why their requests are being delayed. But the purpose of salvation is to rid each person of the bondages, the limitations, the perils, etc., all the ways of the world. The world is seen by those who are not spiritual. It is seen as something that has been seized. That's why you see people in positions of ownership. They own the mountains, they own the natural resources, they own the chemicals in the ground, they own everything. And thereby, it puts them in a position of always having and always determining how the values of this world, the needs of this world are distributed, and they reap profits with every exchange. They reap profits going, and they reap profits coming. You ever notice that when you finish a conversation with somebody, even if there's not much that went on, there's something in you that says, how much do I owe you? Or before you start a conversation, how much will it cost me if I ask you to do this? Why is that? Because people believe that everything has a monetary value. Why? Because it stands under their welfare. In fact, I was in a conversation yesterday, and the man kept talking about money coming in, money coming in, money coming in. And he looked at me and he says, isn't that right? And I said, well, not necessarily. He says, why not? I said, because God is supply. And whatsoever is necessary as supply, it is pressed forward from within me as. He looked at me like I was crazy. But the bottom line is, everything of value that's material has a beginning and has an end. But supply within you is what? It's there, and it just keeps replenishing. It keeps bringing back. Now we're starting to ease into give, and it shall be given. Right. The giving comes from within. Now, one of the major things that we want to look at is some of these themes, some of the lessons that go on through the Bible. And if you're just reading stories, you see how the God of the universe is always coming to deliver his prized pupil, his prized student, his prized person from some mayhem. But those who are really seeking should be looking for the story, the lesson that's within the story. Let's look at the first one. The first story is Abraham. Abraham is brought forth to us as one who, what? Realizes that there is a providence. There is a dominant one. There is a creator. You see, this is the first step. One must come to the realization that there is an all-intelligent, eternal, loving entity, which he will call God. He calls it God because it determines all things. So now you can see They must first believe that he does exist and he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. That's the first step. Abraham reveals to us that there is one out there that is aware of us. The next person we'll look at is Moses. Moses proceeds to show the acknowledgement will lead to an unbreakable relationship with this divine one. Yes, that's right. They are led where? They are led into a place where they have to face all of the negative values of life. Here are people traveling without houses, without water, without food, without money, without protection. And all they are asked to do is what? Open up their heart and prepare the entrance of the God of Abraham to come into their heart and become divine in a relationship that is unbreakable. If this relationship is cared for in the heart, the soul will begin to express every necessary provision that the love of the divine has within it. If this God is divine, what does it have within it? Everything. Everything. All it asks for is that what? Love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy strength, and with all thy might, and all thy soul. And be not afraid, because you will be set free from your fears to enjoy life. And we are expected to do what? To dwell in this wilderness, trusting, not to dwell in this wilderness wondering where our next meal comes from, because as Abraham has revealed that there is a God, Moses is now revealing that this God will do what? Will provide at every turn whatever is necessary. For how long? Well, the lesson tells us 40 years. That number 4 basically denotes a new beginning, which really means that there will be an indeterminate amount of time, but because your heart is stayed on understanding, stayed on aligning this relationship in the best way, that new beginning takes form and takes shape, and it provides all things while it destroys fears. If you recall, you have Caleb and you have Joshua at times saying what? If the Lord take pleasure in us, see? Why would the Lord take pleasure? Because we have taken pleasure in the Lord. In that wilderness, we come upon the story of Joshua. And we see that that wilderness is set up for us to have a fight of courage. Be thou strong and courageous. In this wilderness, we are faced with our greatest fears. The greatest of all of it is what? Suffering and dying. And then everything lesser than. And if we don't have food, we don't have shelter, we don't have money, and all those things, we may as well be dead anyway. So man has become a person who what? He fears from sunup to sundown. That's why here we state, the moment that you awaken in the morning, let your thought be quick to acknowledge the presence of God, as the scriptures say, like the dew in the morning. Let it rest upon your heart. You see, your consciousness is what is driving you toward your success. But at some point in time, you must come to realize that that's actually what's happening, instead of bombarding what we call the heavens with these prayer requests. Lord, don't you hear me? Lord, what more do I need to do? Lord, the greatest one, am I doing this right? But the thing about it is, if your heart's desire is always on pleasing the Lord, then is it not the Lord that will make sure that whatsoever you're doing is going to be corrected in your understanding, that you would make it clearly to the bullseye, clearly to him. As we face our fears, and it is frightening, and sometimes we even feel as though we're strong enough to fight on our own. But the bottom line is, we look at the scars when we come out of the battle, and sometimes the scars they're not visible. They're not seeable, or they don't even hurt physically. And yet in our conscience, we feel that pain. You see, we gradually, through each courageous ability, to keep our attitude lifted up, constantly reminding ourselves that God is God and there is no other. Constantly reminding ourselves that the Lord has called us. It is he that goes before us to set free. We have to keep our attitude at an altitude of always fighting and being of a good courage, that the Lord would come and we would realize the fight is not ours. The only fight we have is to remain strong and remain encouraged. And in Hebrews chapter 2, that's where we find, wait a minute, we all come from the same origin? Oh my goodness. So what Abraham found was not a God to be his father. Abraham found his father. Jesus later clearly says to us, what? Call no man on earth your father. Why could he say that? Because God is the origin of life, and everything that exists comes forth from that origin, and we are the visible image of the origin of life. We are all the one life appearing individually. That's a law. We can never be separated from that law. But yes, we can't. No, you can't. Who shall ascend into the heavens and bring him down, that we might believe? But what does the opposite of that say? If we should find ourselves in hell, he is there to deliver us. What is that saying underneath the physical reading or understanding? It's saying there is a law that connects us that we cannot be separated from. So then, now I understand why Paul says to Timothy, thanks be to God who sent Jesus Christ and has abolished death. God is life. And the quicker that we can lose our concern about dying, then we will be set free. He who has entered into the rest of God has ceased from his concerns. What is your greatest concern? Dying. Dying. That's the greatest. And lesser than that is suffering along the way to dying. And yet the scriptures tell us that Jesus has abolished death. He even went so far as to say, he who believes in me, though he be dead, yet shall he live. He was not talking about people in the grave. He's saying, even though that person be ignorant of his birthright, ignorant of his origin, ignorant of all things that have been given that are within him, The kingdom of heaven is within. You're born with the kingdom of heaven within you. Jesus is saying, though that man be dead to the understanding of who he is, yet shall he live. Oh, my goodness. Jesus said, this is the truth that sets every man free, and he who the Son sets free is free, and he added, indeed. Indeed means what? Having no issues, none whatsoever, no concerns. Accepting this truth makes this man, I hope you're ready for this, Lord of the Sabbath. The Spirit now rests upon him. Oh my goodness, Isaiah 61. The Spirit of the Lord has anointed me and has given me the ability to what? To show John. This is how you will be known, by your fruitage. You're not looking to make fruitage. You're looking to behold the fruitage that comes forth because you understand. As this man keeps truth consciously, he draws unto him those that also seek understanding and purpose. As many as come to him, he receives. Now you understand why you pray for your enemy. Now you understand why you have a conscious duty to love your enemy, to do good to them who use you, despitefully use you, them that would stand in your way, because you're opening up the soul that the flow of good would come forth. So therefore, you receive all. As these people come to you, they are healed. But the true healing is within yourself. Why? Because you begin to see that even though they would stand against you, you realize that there is a law that will not stop your blessings from coming. And they can do whatsoever they choose to do, but it's up to you to stand upon the understanding of who you are. Because as you become aware of who you are, is just like the realization that comes with 1 + 1. When that realization comes, that realization has been ordained. And it's ordained all over the world. And it causes you to rejoice. And I don't mean you're just going to ride around, jump around, skipping, talk about 1 + 1 is 2. But that truth has set you free from any confusion concerning 1 + 1. You will rejoice in the truth. Why? Because the truth is setting you free. You begin to realize that you can speak. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. The Lord goeth before me. Because it is not this God that you were taught that's going before you. No. It's the God of who you are. It's the God that has planted all things within you. That is what goes before you, your understanding of who you are. And it says all of creation is waiting for the manifestation of the sons of God. Who are they? They that understand who they are. The presence of God becomes our delight. We're no more looking for anything from anyone, but you become the giver. I hope you realize now, We're not talking about giving physical things. You become the giver of consciousness. You begin to give the law of God to every situation that faces you. You become the giver. You are now setting people free without them even knowing it. And it is coming back to you. Now you see that law? Give and it shall be given. And it shall come back to you. They shall give unto your bosom, pressed down, shaken together. They won't have any choice but to give. It doesn't mean they're going to give you physical items, and yet they will. Because you have sown, and as a man sows. Now, if you can see giving consciously, giving unconditionally, now you see there is no tether on your giving. Now you see there is no leash on it. Now you see there is no resentment. Now you see there is no bondage. There's no yoke. Remember, he says, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Now you see that, oh man, if I just keep giving to this world, giving it its freedom, then freedom must rebound unto me, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. The measure of their believing is now measured out for all to see. The measure of your giving is now coming back, and people will begin to see. And the greatest seer is the one doing the giving. The hunger for your truth will be met in varying degrees. Some 30, some 60, 100-fold. It's your hunger that determines how it comes back. The measure of your truth received will always be displayed on life's screen. I hope you got that. You are actually seeing before you what you believe. And I know you know what I'm talking about, because you can look at your life and you'll look at certain categories and you say, I'm not worried about that. And you'll look at another one and say, I need a little work. I need to do something over here. This is hard. You're actually seeing. God has given us the word to consciously consecrate within us until the money changers be expelled from the temple. The temple you are. The money changers must leave, and they leave by the admittance of truth. Those that see will be called on to lead. Those that do not see will stumble at the brightness of the light that comes to them, that comes at them. This truth received in our conscience, it causes one to become Lord of the Sabbath, as I said earlier. He shall be confidently sought out, knowing, get this, knowing that his words are honored from on high, not honored on a concept of God that has been described to him, but honored from on his highest understanding of truth. Here I allude again to the word consciousness. You are portraying, you are expressing your understanding on your screen of life. That's why different people react to you differently, and they even react to other people differently, and you wonder why you can't have that relationship, or why is it different? Because each person is projecting what they consciously believe from within themselves, not from a God that's sitting out there paying no attention to what is necessary. Think about it. Look at some of the things you're going through. If there's a God out there, Why hasn't he come and responded? Because you must understand your consciousness is God. As a man believeth, so is he. As a man sows, so shall he reap. The words of a man's lips shall confirm or condemn him. The words that I speak, they are spirit and they are life. We must watch our words, and I'll watch our words because our words come from our thoughts. We must watch our words and realize, are they money changers, or are they words that are going to add to the freedom of those who confront us or who are in front of us? He rejoices now, unafraid, because his consciousness is being purified, and he accuses no one. He warns people that fulfillment cannot be found in the earthly experience alone. Fulfillment comes from that which we make whole. There is nothing that can be taken from you. For all things of the Father are already given. I know you know that scripture. I've mentioned it 100 times. Son, thou art with me always, and all that I have is thine. The son who was eating from the pigsty, that is a lesson. The son who has used up all of what he physically had because he is eating from the world, now realizes this is not going to work. And what does he do? I will return home. I will return to the conscious awareness of truth. And the Father seeing him afar off. Afar off meaning what? That wilderness experience that denoted a new beginning, and it may take a while. But as he's on his way home, he is robed, ringed, new sandals, staffed, and fed. We owe no man anything but love. Nothing. We judge not. We condemn not. And we forgive and give all things, for all things are ours to give. And in that giving, we are setting that person free that is appearing to assault us. For in the measure that these things are practiced, there it is. For with measure that you give, shall their rewards be measured back unto them. In the heart, in their bosom. You shall be known by your fruitage. The measure of truth received will automatically reveal the treasure of the heart. Here we introduce the second background scripture. Proverbs 4:23. What does it say? Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. How do I keep my heart with all diligence? Lord, thy word have I hid in my heart that I might not sin against thee. Let the meditations of my heart and the word of my lips be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord. O Lord, thy word have I taken delight in. You see, we can come up with 50 million reasons why those things in the world of physicality seem unfair. But the bottom line is, how badly do we want the promise that's connected that if you keep your
mind stayed on me, I will keep you
at perfect peace.
Keep the heart with all diligence. Why? For out of it
does the mouth
speak.
He that
will speak truth will stand firm on his foundation. But he that speaks not truth shall fall
when his house is challenged.
What is his house?
Yep, you got it. His consciousness. That is his house. Now we can
clearly see that the giving is from an understanding that has no limitations, no unfair weights, no hindering yoke, no bondage. My yoke is easy and my burden is light.
And we may say this is hard, but Jesus said, I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go, I will come again. Let your imagination form a road leaving, but yet it's a road. And then see it returning, because a road that goes one way, when you turn around, it goes right back where he says, and if I go, I will come again, that where I am, you shall be also. And you shall be known
because
of your Lord, of your
fruitage.
I will not leave you comfortless. So what is he saying? You better stop thinking that doing things that you think are pleasing to God are going to get you into that high kingdom.
And begin to understand
that giving consciously, giving unconditionally, seeing no evil, speaking no evil, retaliating, judging not. Do not do these things, because it's not based on the outward giving or the outward doing.
It's based on an inward understanding
of the Spirit of the Lord, changing our heart from a conditioned position of outwardness to a conditioned position of understanding spiritually. If you truly believed that the words that you speak are spirit and life, how apt are you to consider them before you allow them to leave your mouth?
They that wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Wait on the Lord. Be of a good courage, and he shall strengthen thine heart. Wait, I say, on the Lord. Wait on the law of giving.